Right. Welcome to the boardroom. Let's dive straight into this explainer. Today, we aren't just looking at a syllabus, and we certainly aren't just flipping through textbook pages. No, we are conducting an elite, C-suite grade executive briefing. I want you to completely shift your mindset right now. Step into the role of a managing director. From this moment on, every single exam response you write is going to be treated as a high-stakes, multi-million-dollar business proposal pitched directly to the Cambridge Board of Examiners. We are running a meticulous audit on the paper 4 mark scheme for the 1617 Painstaking Assessment in Cambridge AS and A-Level Arabic 9680. My job today, as your training director, is to train you to strip away all those weak, descriptive liabilities in your writing. You know the ones, the fluffy sentences that sound smart but actually say nothing. We are going to replace them with bulletproof structural frameworks, precise data analytics, and corporate-level evaluative reasoning. Because look, if you want that top-band valuation, that A-star asset rating, you absolutely have to start thinking, structuring, and executing like a C-suite executive. So grab your notes, get focused, and let's get to work. 15%. I really need you to internalize this single metric before we go any further. Mastering this highly specific, painstaking mark scheme accounts for approximately 15% of your total marks in Paper 2 of Arabic 9680. Now, you might be thinking, well, 15% doesn't sound like the whole entire test. But let's put that into perspective. In the corporate world, a 15% profit margin is literally the difference between a global market leader and a bankrupt entity closing its doors. In your exams, this exact 15% is the precise threshold that separates your standard average candidates from the elite top-tier scholars. It's what we call the margin of executive alpha. We aren't here today to casually review definitions. We are here to secure that 15% return on investment by perfectly aligning your analytical output with strict Cambridge regulatory compliance. That 15% is sitting on the table, and we are going to claim it. To secure that valuation, our executive briefing agenda today is going to follow 4 completely non-negotiable phases. First, core assessment architecture. Second, technical standard operating procedures. Third, spotting critical liabilities. And finally, the executive evaluation strategy. Let's move right into phase 1, the core assessment architecture. Okay, so you simply cannot build a $1 million skyscraper on a weak, crumbly foundation. To understand exactly how to win over those tough Cambridge examiners, we have to deeply understand their demand for multi-stage analysis. Let me paint a picture for you. Imagine I have 2 junior consultants in my boardroom right now pitching a proposal for a major client. Let's call them Alex and Sam. Now, Alex is brilliant when it comes to raw facts. He walks into the boardroom, opens his briefcase, and just dumps massive volumes of factual data onto the table. Dictionary definitions, historical dates, grammar rules, you name it. But here's the problem. He completely fails to evaluate the actual market risks. He provides zero evaluation of what that data means. Then, on the other side of the table, there's Sam. Sam is a fast speaker. Sam pitches these brilliant, highly creative concepts and massive high-level ideas, but there's a huge catch. Sam lacks any hard asset backing, no specific textbook case studies, no formulas, no structural rigor to back up the big ideas. Now, acting as the managing director, the Cambridge examiner will look at both of these proposals and reject them instantly. Denied. Why? Because neither Alex nor Sam utilized multi-stage analysis. This core concept requires the systematic evaluation of causal relationships. You can't just dump the raw data like Alex, and you definitely can't just give the creative fluff like Sam. You must define the terms precisely, show exactly how factor A directly causes factor B, and seamlessly integrate that logical chain with other areas of the syllabus. It's not just writing, it's a highly structured corporate methodology. So, how do we systematically build that methodology? We consult the Assessment Objectives Matrix. Imagine the examiners are watching a real-time data ticker tracking 3 distinct cognitive domains, or what we in the boardroom call executive actions. The first domain is knowledge and understanding. This is essentially Alex's raw data dump. You must, of course, demonstrate that you actually know the underlying facts, but that's just the baseline. The second domain is analysis. This is where you have to execute a logical breakdown of that information. You don't just state a fact and walk away. You explain exactly how it operates within the broader system. Finally, we reach the highest domain, the apex, evaluation. This is where you must firmly justify your recommendations. You weigh the evidence, you assess the liabilities and risks, and you make a definitive, authoritative judgment. Listen, a basic low-tier summary is only ever going to hit domain 1. It's cheap, but a true executive-level proposal conquers all 3 domains, moving fluidly from basic knowledge up through deep analysis and peaking at a masterful evaluation. Which brings us to a massive prime directive, pulled directly from the principal examiner reports. If you want to achieve what we call executive alpha, meaning you want to trigger the maximum possible valuation on the grading grid, you absolutely must make cross-topic connections. The examiners explicitly noted that the conceptual framework for this painstaking mark scheme heavily rewards candidates who pull in established principles from completely outside the immediate scope of the question. Think about that for a second. If the question is hyper-focused on one specific text or theme in Arabic 9680, the top-tier candidates won't just stay in that little box. They will seamlessly integrate a comparative analytical framework from a related syllabus area to bolster their argument. Why does this work so well? Because it shows a holistic, macro-level understanding of the subject matter. It proves to the Board of Examiners that you aren't just a junior employee memorizing flashcards. You are an executive managing a highly diverse, interconnected portfolio of knowledge. That covers the foundation. Let's pivot to Phase 2, Technical Standard Operating Procedures. Because having a brilliant idea is literally worthless in a boardroom if you present it scribbled on a crumpled napkin. Let's break down exactly how this translates into what we call the method mark workflow. Listen closely to this. Cambridge examiners award method marks. They will literally pay you out in points for proving your analytical workflow on paper, sometimes even if your final conclusion is slightly off. We're talking about a rigorous 5-step systematic processing sequence. Step 1. Identify the key elements from the stimulus materials. Deconstruct the prompt like a contract. Step 2. Apply the relevant principles. Select the absolute correct analytical framework for the job. Step 3. Execute the analysis. Now, this requires crystal clear working. You must show the steps of your logic transparently, leaving a perfect, unquestionable audit trail for the examiner to follow. Step 4. Verify your results. Do a sanity check for reasonableness. Does your argument actually make logical sense in the real world? Step 5. Present it in the appropriate format. I want you to imagine Alex and Sam backstage right now, desperately trying to merge their assets to create the ultimate joint venture answer paragraph. Alex is stubbornly trying to overload the opening sentence with dense technical dictionary definitions. He's saying we need to define everything first. But Sam is fighting back, realizing the clock is ticking. Sam says, no, we have to pivot immediately into an analytical counterargument framework to maximize our return on investment. They are debating the workflow. But here's the absolute truth they both need to realize. If you skip step 3, if you skip showing your clear working and just aggressively jump to the conclusion, you immediately lose the method marks. The board wants to see how you think, not just what you think. Furthermore, your presentation of this information must follow strict corporate conventions, proper headings, correct terminology, appropriate formats, and clear annotations. Guys, these are not optional suggestions. They are hard regulatory requirements. Missing any of these specific formatting conventions acts as an immediate compliance breach. Imagine our fast-talking junior consultant Sam pitching a breathtaking financial model to a room of investors, but he's using the wrong currency symbols and hasn't used a single paragraph break on his slides. The board will stop listening immediately. The deal is dead. It is the exact same thing in the paper formwork scheme. If you fail to use the precise, high-level academic terminology expected at the AS and A-level tier, the overall valuation of your pitch drops instantly, regardless of how genius the underlying idea might be. You have to look and sound the part. Let's move into Phase 3, Spotting Critical Liabilities. It is time for a risk management audit. We need to purge these high-risk liabilities from your asset portfolio right this second. Consider this an official executive alert straight from the principal examiner reports. Here are the top 3 critical flaws that consistently crash student valuations. Number 1, confusing cause and effect. This happens when your multi-stage analysis completely breaks down and you misidentify the actual catalyst in a scenario. You blame the symptom, not the disease. Number 2, forgetting to check format and presentation, which we just covered extensively. But the third warning? This is the most lethal liability of all, providing generic answers lacking specific context. Let's go back to our data-heavy consultant, Alex. Let's say Alex stays up all night and memorizes a perfectly written textbook paragraph about a specific Arabic linguistic framework. He goes into the exam room, sees a vaguely related keyword in the prompt, and just blindly pastes that pre-memorized paragraph onto the page. Sure, it's factually correct in a vacuum, but it has absolutely zero connection to the highly specific, nuanced scenario provided in the actual exam question. Before we see if this kind of response can secure a top band valuation, I need to make sure your personal academic assets are properly managed. Subscribe to Ace the Exams right now at handle Ace the Exams and turn on all notifications. No matter if your focus is Cambridge IGCSE, O-Levels, AS, or A-Levels, this channel is your weekly guaranteed board seat to secure elite grades. Okay, back to the audit. What Alex just did is known in the boardroom as the liability exploit. Unlinked context breaches compliance. Listen to me carefully. If your answer could theoretically apply to 5 different exam questions, it is a generic, low-value asset. It's junk bonds. You must link every single data point directly to the given scenario. Every single sentence you write must explicitly service the exact context provided in the question. So what happens when Alex and Sam hit a structural roadblock mid-paragraph and their evidence beam loses market compliance? I step in as the managing director with a structural power-up template to reboot their valuation. We use the PO framework: point, evidence, explain, link. We sit down and rewrite their failing paragraph line by line out loud. Alex provides the point and evidence, Sam provides the explanation. But the link at the end, that is what saves them from the liability exploit. You forcefully, explicitly tie your explanation back to the specific context of the prompt, seamlessly securing your points and maintaining 100% compliance. Finally, we reach phase 4, the executive evaluation strategy. All right, let's run a live interactive venture audit challenge right here, right now. I'm putting 60 seconds on the hypothetical audit clock. I want you to mentally compare two completely different approaches: a descriptive liability against an executive asset. Imagine a paragraph that is a descriptive liability. What does it look like? It simply restates the facts of the source text. It just tells the examiner a story about what happened. It is pure, basic knowledge with absolutely zero analysis. If you submit this, imagine an executive value meter on the wall just crashing down to zero. Now look at the alternative, an executive asset. This is a highly analytical, context-specific pitch that follows the command words perfectly. It references those cross-topic formulas we talked about. It doesn't just say what happened, it dives deep into how and why it happened. It evaluates the broader significance, and it directly addresses every single constraint of the prompt. Do you spot the precise difference? The critical exploit in the descriptive approach is the complete and total absence of the so what factor. The executive asset, on the other hand, answers the so what definitively and aggressively. To consistently generate that high-value executive asset, you must train yourself to climb the problem-solving ladder. Remember, those higher-order assessment objectives require you to move from descriptive up to analytical and finally peak at evaluative levels. Step 1. Deconstruct. You identify the given information and break the massive problem down into bite-sized, logical steps. Step 2. Solve systematically. You execute your analysis with that crystal-clear working we demanded earlier. Step 3. Evaluate alternatives. Pay attention because this is the absolute zenith of the mark scheme. Don't just present one single easy solution. A real executive compares different approaches, weighs the respective merits and liabilities, and makes a highly justified recommendation. When Alex's raw data precision finally merges with Sam's high-level conceptual thinking, and they actively applied this exact three-step ladder, their joint venture response instantly maxes out the meter, hitting that $1 million A-star valuation. And that brings us to the ultimate gold standard of executive-level thinking required by Cambridge. I want to read you a quote explicitly stated in the mark scheme. It says, "Top-scoring candidates demonstrate evaluative thinking by questioning assumptions, considering different perspectives, and justifying decisions with evidence." Let's break that down. Questioning assumptions, not taking things at face value, considering different perspectives, looking at the market from all angles, and justifying decisions with hard, undeniable evidence. If your exam paper reads like a passive, timid summary, you are failing the audit. You must take an active, authoritative stance. In that exam hall, you aren't just a student. You are the lead consultant delivering a final, definitive verdict to the board of directors. So let's distill this entire boardroom session down into 3 core corporate pillars you need to take away. 1. The due diligence scan, which is decoding the prompt. 2. The resource allocation matrix, which is managing your time and data efficiently. And 3. The final compliance audit, which is your ultimate review checklist to ensure you've hit every metric. That is exactly how you secure the deal and hit the highest grading band in Cambridge 9680. But let me leave you with one final provocative thought. When you walk through the doors into your next exam, are you just going to dump raw data onto the page and hope for the best like a junior employee? Or are you ready to pitch a bulletproof analysis like a true C-suite executive? The choice is yours. Ensure your assets are secured, subscribe to ACE Exams, enable that notification bell for our weekly board sessions, and drop a comment below right now stating your target grade, your qualification tier, and your subject. Class dismissed. I'll see you in the next briefing.